Microsoft Entra Entitlement Management. Key rules/definition. Entitlement management uses Microsoft Entra B2B so external users can authenticate through their home directory while being represented in your tenant for access assignment. Rapid recall hint. External users plus access packages equals entitlement management. System assigned managed identity. Key rules/definition. System assigned managed identities are created and rotated by Azure and are tied to the life cycle of the Azure resource. Rapid recall hint. 1 resource, Azure Managed Lifecycle. Root Management Group/Network Contributor. Key rules/definition. Each Microsoft Entra tenant has a root management group, with 2 tenants. Use 1 management group per tenant and assign network contributor once per tenant. Rapid recall hint. 1 tenant equals 1 hierarchy/root group. Modify policy effect and remediation role. Key rules/definition. Modify can add/update tags. Remediation tasks use a managed identity with only the permissions needed to update existing resources. Rapid recall hint. Modify and managed identity contributor. Password-based SSO. Key rules/definition. Password-based SSO lets the app use its existing credential store and integrates through app registration with relatively low complexity. Rapid recall hint. Existing app credentials equals password-based SSO. TDE Policy Remediation Order. Key rules/definition. Policies with modify or deploy if notexists effects can remediate non-compliant resources. The assignment exists before remediation tasks can run. Rapid recall hint. Definition, assignment, remediation. Key Vault Backup Restore Geography. Key rules/definition. Key Vault backups are encrypted blobs that must be restored into a Key Vault within the same Azure subscription and Azure geography. Rapid recall hint. Key Vault backup restore is geography bound. Enterprise Applications and Conditional Access. Key rules/definition. Enterprise Applications supports SAML-based SSO. Conditional access can require MFA based on conditions such as location. Rapid recall hint. SAML app equals enterprise app, location MFA equals conditional access. Access review. Key rules/definition. Access reviews can run once or periodically, can be reviewed by group owners or members, and can automatically remove users based on review outcomes or no response. Rapid recall hint. Membership recertification equals access review. Event hubs for logs and metrics. Key rules/definition. Event hubs is commonly used as a high-throughput event ingestion/export path for telemetry and third-party integrations. Rapid recall hint. Telemetry export/ingest equals event hubs. VM scale set across zones and load balancer. Key rules/definition. VM scale sets can run the unchanged app on VMS across zones. Load balancer routes traffic to healthy zone instances. Rapid recall hint. Unmodified app plus zonal HA equals VMSS plus LB. Migration steps. Key rules/definition. Assess calculates costs, modernization effort, and required tools, deploy moves workloads, release tests, optimizes, documents, and hands off to operations/security/governance. Rapid recall hint. Assess, deploy, release. SQL backup retention. Key rules/definition. Azure SQL Database, Azure SQL Managed Instance, and Azure Synapse SQL Pool support minimum 7-day default backup retention. 35-day and LTR support depend on tier/service. Rapid recall hint. 7 days broad, 35 days not Synapse/basic, LTR not Synapse. Event hubs and stream analytics. Key rule/definition. Event hubs handles millions of messages per second. Stream analytics processes streams from event hubs and outputs to NoSQL stores. Rapid recall hint. Ingest equals event hubs, stream processing equals stream analytics. Logic App. Key rule/definition. Azure Logic Apps is a PaaS workflow service with visual/graphical workflow design. Rapid recall hint. Graphical workflow equals Logic App. Materialized views. Key rule/definition. A normal view executes the underlying query each time. A materialized view stores the results, so queries referencing it can run faster. Rapid recall hint. Precomputed/stored query results equals materialized view. Premium DTU service tier. Key rule/definition. Premium DTU supports in-memory OLTP and column store indexes and is built on SSDs for low latency. Rapid recall hint. In-memory OLTP plus column store plus SSD equals Premium DTU. Azure Batch. Key rule/definition. Azure Batch manages VM pools, installs applications, schedules jobs, and charges only for underlying resources. Rapid recall hint. Batch/HPC jobs equals Azure Batch. Event hubs and stream analytics. Key rule/definition. Event hub scales to millions of messages per second. Stream analytics reads event streams and writes processed output to NoSQL databases. Rapid recall hint. Event ingress and stream transform/output. Service SAS and firewall policies/rules. Key rule/definition. Service SAS provides fine-grained access with start/end times and service/permission scope. Firewall rules restrict network access to approved IP ranges. Rapid recall hint. Least privilege storage access equals SAS plus network rules. Azure Blueprints resource connection. Key rule/definition. Blueprint artifacts maintain governance relationships between the blueprint assignment and deployed resources. Rapid recall hint. Blueprint equals deployment plus governance tracking. Blueprint RBAC and locks. Key rule/definition. Blueprints can include RBAC artifacts. Subscription owners cannot override read-only/do not delete locks but can unassign subscription-level blueprints. Management group assignment mitigates this. Rapid recall hint. Blueprint locks need higher scope assignment. Password hash sync SSO. Key rule/definition. AD Connect sends a second hash of the on-premises password hash to Microsoft Entra ID, where password hashes are compared during sign-in. Rapid recall hint. Lowest admin hybrid SSO equals password hash sync. Azure AD B2C. Key rule/definition. Azure AD B2C is designed for external consumer/customer scenarios and provides self-service account management capabilities. Rapid recall hint. Customers/consumers equals B2C. Custom policy and assignment count. Key rule/definition. A policy can include multiple conditions with all of, but a single policy should produce a single effect. Separate effects such as deny and append require separate policies. Rapid recall hint. One effect per policy. Management group inheritance. Key rule/definition. Policies applied at a hierarchical level are inherited by child subscriptions and resource groups. Rapid recall hint. Apply high, inherit down. VM scale sets vs web apps and availability sets. Key rule/definition. Web apps can scale only to the limit cited in the PDF. Availability sets do not meet multiple data center requirements. VM scale sets provide auto-scale, load balancing, and multi-zone/data center scale. Rapid recall hint. Multiple data centers plus scale out equals VMSS. Tag automation and inheritance. Key rule/definition. Resource group tags are not inherited by default, inheritance can be configured with Azure policy. Rapid recall hint. Tags do not inherit by default. Global load balancers. Key rule/definition. The four options listed are Traffic Manager, Front Door, Load Balancer, and Application Gateway. Only Traffic Manager and Front Door provide global load balancing across regions/hybrid locations. Rapid recall hint. Global equals Traffic Manager/Front Door.